Good morning, guys. This is a screencast for steps 3 and 4 for your major project, and hope this helps a little bit. So what I've done here is I've done the very general instructions on the left-hand side for the project, and I've incorporated Dr. Rice's rubric into the right-hand side, and I'm hoping this gives a little clarity when you are doing your next steps. So the next steps are 3 and 4. We're going to go through them individually. So first, step 3, analyze learners in context. Here is where we are drawing from step 1 and going a little bit deeper into that. So first, what are your learners' current skills, knowledge, attitude, and psychomotor skills? So you've already talked about, in general, what can your clients, for lack of a better word, do. Here is where you are going to go into specifically what can they already do with the tools that you are targeting for your training package. So what are their current skills specifically in relation to what you are targeting? So if you are targeting screencasting and in your step 2, you identified very specifically the skills needed for screencasting and broke those down, which part of those skills can they already do, which part of them can they not already do. One part of the rubric that I wanted to put in this section was consider the communication needs of the organization and how technology might address those needs. So basically, are they currently using just email? Do they have a learning management system? Do they have a website? How is that addressing the organizational communication needs? Is it effective? Is it not? How can what you're doing address those needs in a better way? Okay, so learning preferences is next, style of learning. So here's where those adult learning theories really come into play. You're going to need varied approaches for your audience. Some of them are going to have skills that are way above others. Some of them will learn better just from a stagnant document. Some of them will learn better face to face. Some of them will learn better with screencasting such as this. So describe the characteristics of your learners who will benefit from your work that you're doing, and tell me about those learners and how you perceive that they will learn better, and this will lead to the development of your instructions next semester to try to target those particular learning styles. Okay, next, characteristics of the instructional setting. You have already talked about in part 1, I made you do that at length. If you failed short in part 1, please go back and correct that. I may be looking at that part 1 for this, but we also want to reference the state and federal technology standards, and you want to reference the long-term technology plan. So here is where I want you to go look at those nets for teachers, look at the nets for administrators, look at the nets for coaches, whomever you are targeting. I want you to look at what nets you can pull out and say, okay, I'm going to be addressing these and trying to meet these with my learning package that you will deliver. Okay, next, characteristics of the setting in which the skills will eventually be used. We've already, oh, excuse the birdie tweeting at the hour. Describe the characteristics of the setting in which the skills will eventually be used. You've already talked about the infrastructure in part 1. How many computers you have, how many interactive whiteboards you have, things like that. We've already done that. And you've already talked about your students and their socioeconomic status and their test scores, things like we don't want to redo that. Here's where I liked putting part of the rubric in here because I thought it clarified this. Describe the organization and the surrounding community. Who are the families that the schools serve? Who are the clients of this business that you're working with? Analyze the unique technology elements of the organization's environment. So if you are incorporating Minecraft EDU. Why are you doing that? Are you doing that because you have the infrastructure, as you said in part one? Are you doing that because you know that your students are already using and are engaged by that? Describe the strengths and weaknesses of the organization's technology environment. Okay, so you gave me up at the top, here's what we have, just a very blanketed list. Now tell me, okay, based on what we have, here are the strengths, here are the weaknesses. And describe the strengths and the weaknesses of the funding and management environment. Again, back in part one, you gave me just, here is XYZ, here's our funding source. Now tell me, okay, what are the strengths of that? What are the weaknesses of that? And hopefully we can work within those weaknesses to develop your training package. Okay, so part four is much more straightforward and really easy for me to tell you whether you're accomplishing this or not. You're writing your instructional objectives. So I tried to, in part one feedback, I tried to help you shape those objectives. Some of you have already replied to my comments and shaped your objectives up there. If you have not, here is where you're going to need to do them. If you already shaped them up in part one, yes, please copy and paste them back here for step 4 and make sure that you are meeting all of these requirements. Your instructional objectives should be specific, measurable, and extensive. We really, they have to be measurable, guys, and they have to be specific. I really tried to give you detailed feedback on part one, whether you were in the right ballpark or not. Here is where you need to make sure each one, is it specific enough? Is it measurable? And ask yourself, how am I going to measure this? If you cannot think of a way to measure it, then it's not measurable. And is it extensive? Is it enough? Is it, if your objective is that all teachers will learn how to use Screencast-O-Matic, well, yeah, that's specific. Can you measure it? Well, no, I can't really measure if they're learning something or not. And is it extensive? Maybe not. That's just one specific tool. So if I were wanting to do that task, a better objective may be that every content teacher will incorporate flipped learning in their classroom through the use of using Screencast-O-Matic tools at least twice per week. That's much more extensive, that's much more specific, and I can absolutely measure that. Okay, and then the second part include conditions, criteria, and desired behavior for each objective. That's really, straightforward. Make sure that you have those conditions. Where are they going to incorporate the Screencast-O-Matic and the flipped learning? How do you know that they are doing it based on a set of criteria? And what is the desired behavior? You're going to want them to deploy those screencasts on a Weebly website or on a learning management system so that parents and students can use them. So I hope this has helped, and please, as always, text or email with questions or problems. Have a wonderful day.